that intersection of innovation and creating new knowledge and actually applying it is what excites me the most. So what I liked about academia was like the very deep knowledge and getting into a subject and being a subject matter expert. But at the same time, I saw a lot of research for research's sake, which isn't a bad thing, just wasn't for me.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Turing, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Creating medical devices using technology is pretty different than developing other types of startups. Meet Inbal Landsberg, Chief Business Officer of MEDX Xelerator LP. Inbal has an intensive scientific background with a Ph.D. in bioinformatics from Tel-Aviv University and Post-doc in bioinformatics from Stanford University. She is the founder of two companies, one in biospecimen procurement and the other in personalized supplement recommendation. Inbal Landsberg, welcome. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. It is my honor. PhD in bioinformatics. You're going to tell me a little bit about what that means in a second. From Tel-Aviv University, postdoc from Stanford. Today, working with MEDX Xelerator. All about digital tech in healthcare, devices, medical. An industry that is probably the most important one to be diving into today. We've seen over the past year the incredible advancements. I can only imagine how exciting it is to be running an accelerator for this industry in these times. And I'm excited to hear a little bit about you and about your journey and how you got to where you are. So, Inbal, take me all the way back. What really got you into this space?
Well, I always liked biology ever since I was a third grader, I think. So that was always in the background, most fascinating subject. And I started off trying to heal cancer, as any other biology student will tell you the reason that they signed up. And then I found out I didn't like the labs at all. And I thought, well, computational could be a good solution.
So what is the labs? That when you're saying the labs, what do you mean?
The biology lab, actual being like a labyrinth.
Like wearing a white coat and mixing?
The white coat, yeah, mixing up, heating up. It's a lot like cooking. If you like cooking, then typically you like that. I was not that great at it, and I did not like that. And I did like biology, and I don't like repeating something. I like doing something and then moving on to the next thing and learning a lot and kind of moving and all the time. And in a lab, you have a lot of repetition. So I decided that wasn't for me. And then at the same time, I discovered computational biology, which was kind of booming up. It was the age of the human genome. So that was sounded exciting, and I decided to enter bioinformatics.
So you decided to enter that world both with a PhD from Tel-Aviv University. Tell me a little bit about your work with Stanford. Obviously, a place that's also very close to my heart. You also worked quite a bit with Sloan School of Business. So what was that environment like for you?
Yeah, so Stanford was really a place I wanted to get to. I visited one summer, and then I decided that's where I'm studying. And I'm so happy and grateful it ended up that way, because it's a really vibrant and exciting place to be. I kind of had the opportunity to do something very similar to what I did in my PhD. So that was kind of like a more natural continuation of same subject, protein structure and binding site and finding binding site. I worked at Russ Altman's lab there at
and so you're sitting there,
BioX.
the intersection with business and product and I'm saying on one hand, you're saying, I don't want to be, in a lab with white coats. I want to do, more of the computational stuff. But at the end, your day to day today is centered all around this integration of the research with society, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's that's what happens in this incubation that you're running.
First of all, I'm not running. I'm just the business officer. We have a CEO. His name is Shai Poliker. He's running the incubator, just to be accurate about that. So I think, that intersection of innovation and creating new knowledge and actually applying it is what excites me the most. So what I liked about academia was like the very deep knowledge and getting into a subject and being a subject matter expert. But at the same time, I saw a lot of research for research's sake, which isn't a bad thing, just wasn't for me. And I was much more excited about actually finding something that can make a difference in the world and be translated into actual products. And at Stanford, they have all kinds of entrepreneurship programs, and I was lucky enough to be in the summer program for entrepreneurship. And I got the bug, and ever since I founded startups. I worked on in corporates, on innovation, getting startups as part of it, and in the incubator. So it's been around that area.
Right. Tell me a little bit about research, for the sake of research versus, application of what it could be for society, because it sounds like, coming from your perspective, both, deep into academia, so very technical, very research oriented, at the same time understanding that, there is a gap between, the research aspect and the implementation for society. What sort of have you learned about this struggle or this dissonance over your years in the space?
So I think many of us, and I'm talking from academia for a second, we don't learn how to think business at all. People can graduate and don't know how to read a contract or don't know how to think about markets, don't have basic vocabulary of what a market need is, never seen a procedure done in an operational room or even in video. So there's so many gaps that kind of stream people into staying with the same line of thinking, which is academic only. And I think that's a big gap that exists. And I think part of what we all need to be doing is provide more of these tools as part of basic education. And definitely academic education.
So do you see it as primarily an education issue, that it needs to be taught in academia in a school setting? Is that in your mind, what would help a lot of people that are already in academia get exposed to this?
Yeah, I think this is part of it. A big part of it. And you can see the difference between people that were exposed to industry early on and people that were not. And in the way of thinking, there's a lot of kind of ivory tower type of thinking that this is superior and such. And if you go to industry, you hear a lot of the same, but just the other way around. So it's just, I don't think any of them are correct. It's just that we need to provide the tools for both and early on as possible.
So do you see yourself as sort of the connector in the middle between these two worlds right now?
I wouldn't say I'm the connector. I'm just a chain. There are many of us. It's the tech transfer offices and on one side, and the incubators and accelerators on another side. And then once we are also just part of the chain, and then later on you have the corporates, and they have their own divisions of early stage innovation, because what's mature for us is still early for others. And so it's just a long, long chain.
So tell me a little bit more about MEDX Xelerator. What is it about? What is sort of the vision, and how does it actually play into the ecosystem around us?
Okay, so we are an incubator. Despite the name, we are an incubator for medical devices. And we work with one of the biggest players, which is Boston Scientific, and other investors, MEDX Ventures and Sheba, a medical center. And so with all of these partners, we actually invest in early stage companies and projects. Sometimes it's just a need, a clinical need with nothing else. And we bring on the team and create the IP and kind of build the company ground up. And sometimes we get lucky and we find kind of more mature startups that are ready to go and just looking for seed investment. And we invest in them. So a little short of $1 million. And we kind of incubate them for 2 years and bring them to whatever their next milestone is, which can be funded for round A. And we had quite a few success stories.
What is the incubation process any different for companies that are coming in the medical devices space that are coming to you versus, some that may come to other accelerators or other incubation programs? Is there, a difference in mentality or process that is unique to medical devices?
Yeah. I don't know if the process is unique because it's for medical devices, but I can say, and that's different. And I can say because I was fortunate enough to work in a tech transfer office and also see other incubators and how they work before coming to MEDX Xelerator, is that here the involvement is really hands-on. We have weekly meetings with the CEOs, every aspect of it. We write presentations together as a team. It's not like there's an entrepreneur and there's management and they have to present. It doesn't work that way. It's just a team of people working together. Also, entrepreneurs working with one another. It's a very kind of cooperative type of working environment, and I think that makes a lot of difference. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, tell me a few of the fun success stories from MEDX Xelerator. I'd love to hear about them.
Okay, so we are quite a young incubator, been around for about 4 years now. So we have one cohort that graduated, and in that we had CAPS Medical that did a very successful round A of about 4 million. I think that there was. They do cold plasma for solid tumors. That's one of the major successes out of the incubator. We had endoways that does disposable robotics that was actually purchased by Ascendum just this year. Others, Xero Medical, which is just fundraising now and addresses anastomotic leaks. So these are leaks in the GI, gastrointestinal system after typically colorectal cancer. And so they have this devastating state of people looking great after the surgery, but then developing over a few days a leak, which could be life-threatening. And so they have a device, an implantable device that's biodegradable, and you can detect it very early on where you can still save life and do something about it.
And so, how does your day-to-day look like in a place like this? Whether it's during a cohort, preparing for a cohort, I'm sure it's two different mindsets. But what is sort of your day-to-day like within a medical devices incubator?
So there are a few different pillars. The business development, I'm in charge of the deal flow. So this is projects coming in. So we do meetings and interviews with entrepreneurs trying to evaluate projects. We see about 20, 30 a month, and we choose about 3 or 4 a year. So that's a lot of filtering to do. So we move the projects kind of down the funnel from lead to qualified lead to full-blown due diligence, and with growing involvement.
At what stage are they coming to you in their life cycle?
Yeah, it really varies. Some come when they already have a developed product, but that you couldn't sell, and they need to shift, and we help them find a new indication. That's one way about it. Others come with a paragraph. This is the need that I've found, and actually we like both.
Wow,
So
that's very, very cool. And so, if you're looking at, medical devices, and for somebody who's, outside of the space and doesn't really know much about, medical devices, or really what it's like to go into that space. I'm thinking of myself as a young entrepreneur. I realized that, these sorts of companies are some of the most, life-changing ones. And I'm thinking, what can outsiders do to put themselves into this space? Somebody who doesn't, study computational biology, or a biologist, what can they do to come in and make an impact in this space specifically?
So I think we all have some degree of exposure to health on our daily lives. We all have relatives and issues ourselves. So whenever you found something that doesn't have a good answer, good medical answer, that's always a good place to start. So finding the problem, the issue, something that doesn't work for you, if it's inconvenience going to diagnosis, or just some hurtful procedure, or find the need. So the most important thing is the need.
Right, finding the need, and I'm sure that part of the challenge is also understanding and identifying what the need could be, especially when you're not a domain expert in a space like this. And if we're looking, a few years down the line, are there any interesting observations that you're thinking about, or you're seeing interesting movements, especially over this last year? Anything that we can look forward to, either optimistically or pessimistically?
Well, foreseeing the future is always difficult, but definitely we see a lot of digital health getting into. I don't think that's news to anyone, but you see it more and more, taking up space and getting into many of the devices. So, I think about half of them have some type of algorithm to some type of data component and algorithm as part of the device itself. So we see that more. We have one project that's kind of in the spirit of COVID with chest physiotherapy company, a very promising company called Synchrony Medical. Which I think we will see more of. So a lot of post-COVID issues are chest physiotherapy and venous problems. So I think we might see more of those solutions.
Wonderful. Inbal, thank you very, very much for joining me. I have a few fun questions left. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, we'll start off easy and we'll get a little complicated down the way. First off, your favorite subject in school?
That is the biology. I think we started with that.
When did you start with biology? When was the first time you got exposed to biology?
Third grade, I was in a special program for excellent students, and there was a specific lesson that I remember that the teacher showed us how the blood works and antigens, and I said, "This one, I want to learn that."
I love it. Okay, one of your role models or somebody that you look up to that really inspires you?
Well, I don't think I have one specific person. I try not to idolize anyone in specifically, but I do try to take characteristics from people. So I try to imitate, do my actions like someone. So I try to give presentations like Shai, and I try to do small talks like David, and I try to host like Karen. So that type of behavior.
Very cool. And the last question, 3 words that you would choose to describe yourself.
Difficult. I would say achiever and a mom and outdoors.
I love it. Inbal, תודה רבה רבה. Thank you very, very much. Best of luck with everything. Thank you for helping, companies, early stage, medium stage, whatever stage it is, making a positive impact and continuing to grow. I really appreciate you taking the time. And until then, stay safe and stay healthy.